We're going to begin this morning with the violence in Gaza, where Israel is heightening its ground and air attacks.
Overnight, the IDF launched a wave of airstrikes on all parts of the sealed-off region, while at the same time engaging Hamas militants on the ground. This video, released by the IDF, shows Israeli troops fighting inside Gaza. Hamas says it has been responding with machine guns and anti-tank missiles. It comes a day after Israel secured the release of a soldier held hostage by Hamas. Well, the group also released a video showing 3 women in captivity. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has dismissed calls for a ceasefire after UN aid organizations pleaded with the Security Council at an emergency meeting yesterday to do more to end the hostilities.
The current siege imposed on Gaza is collective punishment. 2 weeks of full siege followed by the trickle of aid last week mean that basic services are crumbling. Medicine is running out. Food and water are running out. Fuel is running out. A further breakdown in civil order will make it extremely difficult, if not impossible, for the largest UN agency in Gaza to continue operating.
We, of course, have a team standing by on this story. We're going to start with NBC News foreign correspondent Kelly Kobayea, who joins us from Eilat, Israel.
So, Kelly, what is the latest on Israel's ground and air attacks on Gaza this morning?
Well, Joe and Savannah, the IDF, the Israeli military, reports engaging in fierce battles with Hamas militants deep inside the Gaza Strip. They say that they struck some 300 targets just in the past 24 hours, saying those targets included command centers inside tunnels. They also claim to have killed a top Hamas commander who they say was involved, very much involved in planning that October 7th attack. The IDF also said that some Hamas fighters have barricaded themselves inside buildings in Gaza, and they are engaging with those militants as well. And there are reports of tanks on the outskirts of Gaza by a freelance photographer, for example, who believes that he saw a tank firing on a vehicle on a street on the outskirts of Gaza. And not only in Gaza overnight, Joe and Savannah, there was also activity on that northern border with Lebanon. The IDF said that they struck Hezbollah targets in the north, airstrikes, fighter jets carrying out strikes on targets in the north as well. Savannah, Joe?
Hey, Kelly, if we could talk a little bit now about these calls for a ceasefire. Just moments ago, we heard from a UN official warning about the devastation, saying that that was necessary from Israel. We have heard that that cannot happen. Of course, this back and forth comes with the backdrop of this unfolding humanitarian crisis. Where are we at in terms of calls for a ceasefire and also for more aid to get in?
Yeah, calls for a ceasefire from a number of countries, but that is falling on deaf ears here in Israel anyway. Prime Minister Netanyahu flatly rejecting it, saying a ceasefire is akin to surrender in the eyes of Israel, and it's just not going to happen. There have been, reports from senior U.S. officials, John Kirby, saying that the U.S. is talking to Israel about getting more humanitarian aid in, about getting more trucks inside Gaza. So far, we're talking about a number just over 100 in terms of the number of aid trucks that have gotten in since all of this started. And it simply isn't enough, the UN says. They need, before the war, some 500 trucks, according to one UN official, were getting in every day to accommodate the needs of the people inside Gaza. And now we're talking about just over 100 over the course of more than 3 weeks. The UN official who you heard from at the top of this segment, who's in charge of UNRWA, which is the UN agency which helps Palestinian refugees, said that at this point this is a matter of life and death for millions. The UN now calling for another border crossing to be opened. It's a crossing in the south with the border between Gaza and Egypt, but it's east of that Rafah border crossing, and it's primarily used to ship goods in normal times. We simply don't know if Israel will be willing to agree to allow large volumes of trucks to enter into Gaza through a different crossing, but that is now being floated. Savannah, Joe.
Kelly, let's talk specifically about where you are right now. We understand there were reports of a drone shot down there earlier. What more can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so we're in Eilat in the south, which is basically a resort town in normal times. It's now become an evacuation center for a lot of communities in the south. So in those kibbutzim and the other communities that were evacuated after the October 7th attacks. There are tens of thousands of people here from those communities in the south. Survivors who have friends and family who were kidnapped. They have friends and family and neighbors who they are still burying, who are still being identified. And they're in a lot of these hotels. Earlier this morning, there was an alarm, a warning siren, and the alert was for some sort of aircraft. And what we have subsequently learned is that the IDF believes that this was some sort of drone. Not clear where it was sent from, but the IDF says that it was shot down before it reached Israeli borders. We do know that about 12 days ago there were a number of drones, we don't know how many, sent allegedly from Yemen toward Israel, those shot down by a U.S. Navy destroyer. So it is something that has happened before, but this is not a common occurrence here. It's not often that sirens sound here, and it's certainly not often that we get that kind of alert saying, you know, take cover. There's a possible unidentified aircraft heading toward Israeli airspace.
Right. Kelly, before we let you go, let's talk about the hostage situation. We know Israel says they were able to free this soldier during ground operations last night. What's the latest here?
Yeah, so the IDF is now saying that 240 people are being held hostage. That is one more than they had said even last night. And they continue to receive intelligence and update those numbers as they are able to confirm that people who have been missing for these more than 3 weeks are actually held hostage. So that number now stands at 240. When that soldier, when news of that soldier's release arrived in these hotels and other places where families are waiting for word from their loved ones, there was a huge amount of relief, of sort of momentary joy, of hope that perhaps their loved one will be next. There still is a lot of hope in a lot of these communities that more people will be released or will be rescued. And we also know that a video came out around the same time, released by Hamas. We're not showing it. We're not playing the audio because it appears as though the women in the video were under duress while making the statement. But once again, you know, those 3 women are people whose loved ones now have, you know, a sign of life. They have a bit of consolation, I guess. Maybe that's not the right word, but a hope maybe that their relatives at least are alive and are able to communicate, and there may still be hope for them. A lot of people, you know, have really mixed feelings about this ground operation. They, on one level, think, well, maybe this is the best way and their loved ones will be rescued, as that soldier was. On the other hand, they're worried about their safety.
All right, guys. Kelly, thank you so much. Appreciate your reporting this morning. Hundreds of day laborers from the Gaza Strip have been left stranded in the occupied West Bank. That's because their work permits were suddenly revoked by Israel after October 7th, immediately after the Hamas attacks. Now, with Gaza sealed off, many are anxious to return home and have no idea if their loved ones are still alive. NBC's Hala Gorani has that story.
Hundreds of men stranded, sleeping where they can in what was once a sports center. Day laborers from Gaza now stuck in Ramallah in the West Bank, dozens of miles away from home. Mostly construction workers. Rights groups say their permits to be in Israel were suddenly revoked after Hamas's bloody October 7th attacks. With Gaza now sealed off, the men are struggling to communicate with their families. Their wives, children, and parents are now facing displacement and destruction alone.
This is my wife.
We meet Nael at the center.
Where's your family?
Now?
Yeah.
I don't know.
In Gaza?
In Gaza, but I don't know in Gaza where, I don't know.
Have you been able to talk to them on the phone?
No connection, no information.
Nael says he hasn't heard from his wife and 4 children.
I don't know my family leaving or not leaving. I don't know.
You don't know if they're alive or
don't
if
know.
they're not alive?
Yes, I don't know.
Rights groups say around 18,500 Gazans had permits to work in Israel before the war. Now considered illegal aliens, many have gone missing. Hundreds have ended up here in this Palestinian Authority facility aided by volunteers. There's little left for them to do other than constantly check for news from home. We want to die with our families, our children, this man says. While they're dying in Gaza, we're here eating and drinking. We want to go back. But with communications patchy or non-existent, the lack of information is agonizing. Pictures on their phone are sometimes the only connection to home. Day laborer Fathi proudly shows me a photo of one of his sons graduating.
This is the one who's an engineer.
Yes, engineer.
And he's now in Gaza.
This is number 5 from my sons.
Number 5 of
Yes,
9.
nice.
Where was
Everybody.
this?
Islamia University, now destroy university.
So this is one of the young men. You don't know how
I
he's
don't know.
doing.
I don't know about him anything.
Some have been here almost 3 weeks, drying clothes on sports equipment, sleeping on concrete bleachers, and passing the time any way they can. For some, all that's left to do is pray.
Our thanks to Hala Gorani for that report.
Well, the war between Israel and Hamas has sparked a rise in both anti-Semitism and Islamophobia in the U.S. and around the world. NBC News senior White House correspondent Gabe Gutierrez reports on the rise of hate and what the Biden administration is doing about it.
The U.S. is condemning this pro-Palestinian mob that stormed an airport in Russia looking for Jews. Hundreds of men, some carrying banners with anti-Semitic slogans, rushed onto the tarmac, searching for Israeli passengers. Around the world, demonstrations calling for a ceasefire in the Israel-Hamas war. In Pakistan, some protesters burned Israeli and American flags.
How concerned is the White House that these demonstrations will spiral out of control?
No, we believe in the right of peaceful protest. Nobody wants to see peaceful protest turn violent or turn dangerous.
In the U.S., the Biden administration is announcing new steps to fight anti-Semitism and Islamophobia on college campuses, including federal agencies improving coordination between campus law enforcement and state and local counterparts. At Columbia University,
there are Jewish students who do not feel physically safe on campus.
At Cornell, police are guarding the Center for Jewish Living after the university says a series of horrendous anti-Semitic messages threatening violence were posted online. Junior Molly Goldstein is the center's president. What's the sense of fear like on campus right now?
I would say all students are absolutely terrified. People don't know what to do with themselves and whether they should stay or leave campus.
The Anti-Defamation League reports since the war began, anti-Semitic incidents in the U.S. are up nearly 400% from the same period last year. As the man accused of stabbing a 6-year-old Palestinian-American boy to death near Chicago pleaded not guilty, Muslim leaders are reporting an uptick in Islamophobia nationwide, with the Council on American Islamic Relations citing nearly 800 complaints this month. Incidents like this one at American University, where a Palestinian IT specialist says someone slid a note under his door threatening, "Go back to where you came from. You might get lucky with a missile and meet your Allah sooner."
This whole eerie feeling just took over. My heart sank.
As the White House tries to get a grip on rising displays of hate, the Justice Department just announced charges against a Nevada man who's now accused of threatening to exterminate a U.S. senator for supporting Israel. Back to you.
All right, Gabe Gutierrez, thank you very much.
Over on Capitol Hill, newly elected House Speaker Mike Johnson has a very full plate on this, his first full week on the job.
That's right. Johnson announced Monday he is breaking with the White House and the Senate by having the House take up aid to Israel as a standalone measure and not tying it to any additional aid for Ukraine.
NBC News Capitol Hill correspondent Ali Vitale joins us now with the latest from Washington. Ali, good morning. So we know that the new bill revealed by House Republicans includes more than $14 billion in emergency funding for Israel. What else can you tell us about this package, and what are we hearing from the White House?
Well, look, the bulk of this, Joe, is going towards increased military aid for Israel amid this ongoing crisis. And this was always what was going to be the first test for the newly minted speaker. It also highlights, though, the realities between House Republicans and Senate Republicans, especially as Johnson's strategy in moving forward on this Israel aid is in stark contrast to, of course, what the White House and Democrats have laid out. They wanted this Israel aid package to be combined with Ukraine aid package, an attempt to get potentially more House Republicans to go along with getting more aid to Ukraine while simultaneously getting that aid to Israel. That's also something that Senate Republican leadership, including Mitch McConnell, wanted to see. But by Speaker Johnson saying that he was decoupling these things, that's him showing his allegiance to his House Republican ranks and really jamming the Senate Republican.
So, Ali, if the bill passes the GOP-controlled House, my first question is, does it have any chance of passing the Senate with those Republican provisions? But then also, with this conflict raging in Israel, and of course what we still have is the backdrop of the war in Ukraine, is this the fight he wants to have newly in this role?
Yes, this is the fight that he is happy to have at this point. You got to remember that even though this is a very urgent time, we see crises on every front, especially on the geopolitical stage. This is still a House Republican conference that went through multiple overtures of absolute dysfunction and chaos to even pick the current speaker that they have sitting there with the gavel. They're not going to be bogged down, if you will, with the geopolitical urgency of this moment. Instead, you've got some on the House Republican side who are saying they want to make sure that they see funds in this Israel aid bill be offset or paid for. That's something that the current speaker says he's going to be able to do by clawing back some unused funds in the democratically passed inflation reduction package. You'll remember that from earlier in the last Congress. They say they're going to claw back some of the money from that to pay for this. That's got some Democrats in the House upset, people who would otherwise support aid to Israel, saying, hey, wait a minute, that's not how we usually handle aid. Then on the Senate side of this building, you're right to point out that this decoupling of Ukraine and Israel aid is, yes, flying in the face of what some Senate Republican leadership wanted, but it's also going to make it very difficult for some of these other senators on the Democratic side who would otherwise support both of these aid packages, but they say that they need to use this moment as leverage to ensure that Ukraine does get the aid that it also needs. We're going to see that fight brewing. We've got at this point the House vote on this teed up for later in the week. It's going to go through a necessary committee on Wednesday. We'll see what boils over in the intervening days, but certainly this was or should have been easy. Now it's looking like it's going to be a thorny fight.
Real quickly, let's talk about the other side of the equation here, and that is the funding for Ukraine. What's Speaker Johnson saying about that?
Yeah. Well, look, he's in the middle of a real, frankly, mess within his conference. No surprise there, given the dynamics that we've seen play out over the course of the year. But what we're watching him do by saying that he's going to decouple Israel and Ukraine funding, we're watching him say that he is fully aware of the realities within his House Republican conference and, frankly, the unease that a majority of his members have on sending continued aid to Ukraine. Again, this is a real stark contrast between the way that House Republicans, by and large, are thinking about the Ukraine aid issue and House Republicans are thinking about the Ukraine issue. This was always going to be a battle that they were going to face. And again, it puts him at direct odds with his, in theory, counterpart and otherwise partner on the Republican side in the Senate, Mitch McConnell, who has been a steadfast ally of sending more and continued aid to Ukraine. But because of Johnson and the realities within the House Republican side, we know that they're going to be at odds on that.
All right. Ali Vitale, a lot to cover this morning. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ali. Well, it looks like the United Auto Workers Union has struck a deal with General Motors, which would bring an end to the union's unprecedented strike against the nation's big three automakers. NBC News correspondent Jesse Kirsch has the details.
46 days after the United Auto Workers' historic strike began, the union and all of the big three are finally near the finish line.
Once again, we have won several astonishing victories.
The UAW announcing a tentative agreement with General Motors after reaching similar deals last week with Jeep owner Stellantis and with Ford. The UAW says all three offers include 25% base wage increases through April 2028, cost of living allowances, and better retirement benefits. Welcome news to workers like Will Prohaska, a husband and father who has been striking at Stellantis' parts distribution center outside Cleveland. What was it like going the last month plus without your paycheck?
It was actually pretty horrid. I went to salvage shopping, which is like expired canned food, so that way we could save a little extra money.
He says a new contract, which still has to be ratified by union members like him, would mean he can finally make as much money as longtime workers. Now, roughly 50,000 striking members are returning to work. President Biden, who made history walking a UAW picket line, gave the thumbs up.
These record agreements reward auto workers who gave up much to keep the industry working and going during the financial crisis more than a decade ago.
But higher labor costs could mean higher sticker prices at the dealership.
There's no doubt that all of the automakers will be facing higher costs when it comes to building a vehicle, and they've got to figure out how to make that up at some point.
Those costs could benefit non-unionized automakers, but those companies' workers could also be enticed to join the UAW following these historic deals.
All right, Jesse Kirsch, thank you so much. Well, those contracts are expected to be voted on and approved by rank-and-file union members in the coming days.
As tributes pour in for actor Matthew Perry, for the first time we are hearing from his friends, co-stars. Jennifer Aniston, Courtney Cox, Lisa Kudrow, Matt LeBlanc, and David Schwimmer released a joint statement. It reads in part, "We are all so utterly devastated by the loss of Matthew. We were more than just castmates. We are a family." There is so much to say, but right now we're going to take a moment to grieve and process this unfathomable loss.
Perry played Chandler Bing during the hit series' 10-year run, and he earned an Emmy nomination for his performance. Perry was found dead at his Los Angeles area home on Saturday. Autopsy results are pending a toxicology report. He was 54 years old.
All right, bundle up. We are expecting some spooky cold temps this Halloween. Let's get a closer look with your Halloween edition of the Morning News Now weather forecast.
That's right. This morning when I was hanging out, Angie, I think it was in the 40s earlier. Ooh, good morning.
I hope you brought your jacket, and I hope a lot of people are grabbing the jacket this morning, and even later today, you're going to need it too. We've got 115 million people under these alerts this morning. They include frost advisories, freeze watches, and freeze warnings. So heads up if you're headed out really across much of the country. We're dealing with these chilly conditions. Notice Minneapolis. It's 30 degrees for the actual temperature, but you add in those elevated winds, and you've got a wind chill in the teens. Chicago feeling like 23 degrees right now. Even Little Rock, you're feeling like the 20s as you get out the door this morning. So extra layers for sure as you go through the morning hours. And even in the afternoon hours, we don't get much better in some of these spots. Places like Detroit barely get into the 40s. We've got 57 in Birmingham. Corpus Christi will stay into the 50s through the afternoon hours today. And we keep this going kind of into tomorrow as well. We look ahead to the early morning hours of your November 1st, the start of your November, and we've got plenty of folks that could see some record lows for the early morning hours tomorrow. Places like Springfield, St. Louis, Fort Smith, all included in that, as well as Dallas for your early morning temperature as we get into the beginning of November. There's what those lows will look like. 30s for Dallas, upper 20s in Columbus, teens for Chicago. Once again, our afternoon temperatures will be about 10 to 20 degrees below where we should be for this time of year. But then by the end of the week and into the weekend, we start to kind of moderate things out. The 60s will return for Lexington, upper 60s for Raleigh by the time Saturday rolls around. And we'll go from the low 50s on Thursday in New York to the low 60s by Saturday. And of course, we save the best for last. Here's your trick-or-treat forecast. Chicago, unfortunately, you guys are going to contend with some snow showers. We'll see blustery conditions. It's the extra layers kind of trick-or-treating forecast. It could be in the top 5 of coldest Halloweens in Chicago. So we'll watch for that. Light drizzle in Cincinnati and some cold rain in Raleigh, unfortunately, with temperatures just in the 40s. But check out Orlando. Clear, warm, 80 degrees.
80.
Mainly clear in LA with a temperature of 75 and 53 for Houston.
Wow.
So unfortunately, the jacket needed there.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.